What has everyone been up to? I have to say I haven't been that productive. What I have been doing is watching a lot of movies. I always kind of thought that movies were not really a legitimate hobby because it's quite passive, right? But I've been talking to my friends about it, and I realized there's a distinction between sort of watching things like reruns of Friends and Gilmore Girls, and what I've been doing is like checking movies off my list, and I feel like there's nothing more satisfying for me than looking forward to experiencing a movie and then finally watching it and like rating it and watching all the theories behind it and like what it all meant, and you know, adding it to my like consciousness. And I used to think like, well, it's not special, like everybody likes movies, but I don't know, I feel like actually the more I talk to people and meet people, not everybody's that hyped about movies. Like some people can't even sit through one, or they forget like the day after. It doesn't like imprint on them as much as I feel like movies do on me. Like movies really matter to me, and I feel like movies raise me, like they're kind of my goalpost, or my, like I use them as a, yeah, they teach me things about life and love, and even if it's fiction and it's, you know, it's not meant to be taken that seriously, or that's not where you're meant to learn about love, or still I can't help it, like I feel like I just measure my life in that standard, and you know, I don't know to what extent that's healthy, but like I feel like as a kid, movies just helped me realize that there's a different way to live. Because as an only child especially, and I don't know, I wasn't socialized that much, and I was around the kind of same people at the time, and movies were the only way to kind of, you know, access different parts of the world, access different types of communities. And even though, you know, I wasn't watching documentaries, like those movies were based on some sort of main ideas about the world, and they reflected certain truths, you know. Even if it wasn't about real people, it was about real issues and real things that I could learn about. So, what have I been watching recently? I watched Place Beyond the Pines, where Ryan Gosling met Eva Mendes, and it blew my mind a little bit. I wasn't expecting it to. I thought it would be like a brooding indie about like him and Eva's love story, and I thought that's why they fell in love, but if you've seen that movie, it goes another way. And like, no spoilers, but like there were 2 times in that movie, and if you've seen it, you know which 2 times, where I was like, oh, what now? And it was amazing because it really subverted my expectations, and I like couldn't look away, and I loved it. And at the end, I didn't have that empty feeling I do when I, you know, when I rewatch something and I'm kind of like, well, I just wasted another like 2-3 hours of my life watching stuff that I knew, you know, I know this dialogue by heart, like why am I doing this? This is not bringing anything new, it's not moving me anywhere. But I don't know, when I finish a good movie, I kind of feel reborn. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. I feel a bit like anything's possible, or I don't know, it's just that feeling of experiencing like a great piece of film that I find irreplaceable. Even a bad film, like I love a good bad film that I can laugh at. Like I did watch Breaking Dawn the other day as well. That was more for nostalgia purposes, but I had forgotten how psychotic that movie is, and it was like I had the best time just rewatching it and remembering how I remembered things and then how they actually were. And it's fucking funny, like especially part 1 is like what even is it? What even is it? Like, she's like, no, Edward, I'm gonna have this demon baby, you can't take it away. She becomes like anorexic, and then he like bites her all over, and they perform that fucking horrific C-section. And like, it's just so badly like filmed and edited and so unbelievable. Part 2, I give credit to for that battle scene, and just in general, like, it's a better movie. But I mean, it was a cultural phenomenon when I was growing up, and I did read the book, so I don't know, I just had like such a good time watching that. What else? Parasite. I finally got around to watching Parasite, and it fulfilled my expectations, which is good, because I don't love to watch movies as they're coming out, or as they're hyped up in the theater and everyone's like, have you seen it, have you seen it? That's the time when I don't really enjoy watching the movie, because I feel like, well, I have two issues with it. First is that I feel like I'll be swayed by everyone's opinion, and I won't really make up my own mind, so like get caught up with the hype. And the second reason is that I just feel kind of like a sheep, like that something comes out in the theater and then we all line up to watch the same thing, and then we all talk about it. And I don't know, I feel like media has become a bit streamlined, where it's like whatever's on Netflix, that's what we're watching as a society, or as the world now. And I feel like it kind of doesn't allow for personal taste anymore. We're just kind of like, okay, everybody's watching Game of Thrones now, and that's the only thing anyone can talk about. Okay, now everybody's watching Love Island, and now everyone's watching Too Hot to Handle, or whatever. And it's like there's these phases, like we're all just eating what we're being served and not looking outside. And I feel like there's so much cinema, like also foreign films and smaller films that don't make it to Netflix or don't make it to the cinema, that are so beautiful, and a bit, you know, it's a bit of a shame that whatever ends up on Netflix is what we all end up watching, because those are not always the best things. I mean, let's face it, there's like 3 good movies on Netflix, and I feel like it neglects the search a little bit. Like, I also like to go back in the past. There's so little old movies on Netflix. Like, I remember when I was a teenager, I watched all the Chaplin movies, and I thought it would be difficult to watch, but it wasn't. It was still really accessible and funny, and like, you know, I like to watch like old Audrey Hepburn movies, and Casablanca, and you know, all these things that are just not really, there's so many good movies that have been made in the past, and it makes me a bit sad that so much shit is coming out just for the sake of it, and all these like Marvel movies and, you know, superhero movies, which I know people love. I haven't seen them because it just feels so like, it kind of feels like these movies are on a conveyor belt, and they're just shooting them out every year or every other year, and I don't know, I just kind of expect them to be bad, or to cater too much. Like, yeah, I'm making assumptions here. I've seen the other ones, the Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, the one where Jennifer Lawrence is like the blue, you know what I'm talking about. I did like that, but it still felt a bit like fast food, the fast food of movies, if that makes sense. But yeah, what else? Well, I did do some good like rewatching, as I said. I rewatched Breaking Dawn, which was a weird choice. It was just on my mind. You know how sometimes Breaking Dawn is just on your mind. Yeah, I had that. And I rewatched Good Will Hunting, which just never failed me. Has Good Will Hunting ever failed you? Like, if you're ever sitting at home being like arguing with your significant other, like, what should we watch? And you're like going back and forth, and you're like scrolling through Netflix, unable to decide, to the point where you're like gonna have a fight. Pop on Good Will Hunting, bitch. It will not fail you. I mean, the apple scene is just iconic. Skylar is a feminist icon. Like, look good. And also I live for the other scene where the friend comes to his door. Oh, I live for that scene where he's like sad to lose his friend, but he's happy because he knows that he's off to do bigger things, which he's supposed to, and it's everything. And yeah, I guess I'm just kind of feeling grateful for films. Like, I always kind of felt a bit ashamed, I guess, about how much I love films, because I thought it meant that I didn't have enough of a life. And, you know, that's probably still true. It's probably, I could probably do with a bit more life and a bit less living in you know, in movie worlds. But listen, it's a pandemic, and I'm kind of tired of feeling bad about it, because it's like, well, it is what it is, so I might as well embrace it. And I think I'm finally at that place where I'm like, I love just sitting down and watching movies by myself. And yeah, thank you, movies.